One.
Welcome in. Happy Monday. Happy week 2, beginning of week 2, Nebraska spring ball. Parker, Sipple, Lincoln Journal-Star, HuskerExtra.com. 4 downs, 4 most interesting things we heard today from Eric Chenander, Travis Fisher, a couple of players. Sipple, we're going to start by setting the stage, as you so eloquently put it. Practice number 4 this morning for Nebraska. Okay. Unlike 80 degrees last week, it snowed last night. Cold at practice this morning. Just overall, 15 practices of spring, obviously, culminating with the spring game on April 9th. Where is Nebraska at this point, according to Eric Chenander?
So, yeah, you always kind of wonder just what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, and what's going on so far is mostly installation. I would just say scheme installation. And it's kind of a two-pronged conversation. For a lot of the guys, the returners, especially the veterans, it's not particularly difficult. For the newer players, and there's a lot of them.
It's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of newer players, and it's a lot.
Right.
I mean, it's a very challenging time for them, but that's what you got to do. That's what they're doing. So that's kind of defined the first week. There hasn't been a lot of hitting. They've been in pads once. They can't really judge tackling, but they will on Friday when they have their first scrimmage on Friday.
Yeah, that'll be a pivotal point in spring. We won't know a lot about it because then there's spring break the next week.
Yeah.
But a big scrimmage going into spring break, that'll be an interesting one. Number 2, Marques Buford talked today, and he had interesting thoughts about Casey Thompson. What did the young defensive back say about the new quarterback?
Yeah, it was the first time I've heard a player. Now, maybe you have. I haven't heard a lot of players elaborate on Casey Thompson, but he elaborated. He said he's in the office all the time. I mean, he's learning coverages of what he sees from Nebraska, but also he's learning Big Ten coverages, what teams play in the Big Ten. And Buford said he's commented, it's kind of interesting that how much different they are than what he saw in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Also, as far as on field, Buford Marques, by the way. Marques Buford just mentioned that he's a guy that can take off and get out of the pocket.
Yeah.
But he also is pretty intent on staying in there and going through his reads. He's not just one of those quarterbacks who at the first sign of trouble just bolts.
Yeah.
I think that's the way you need to be in the Big Ten.
Number 3, we'll talk about Marques Buford's role because he's pretty clearly an ascending player in the program. Yeah. I mean, Travis Fisher talked today too, and I was in on that, and he called Marques Buford a dog, and he said he can pretty much do anything he wants. And it's interesting. He told you he's playing exclusively safety on the field, even though he's learning both positions. Travis Fisher said that he didn't tell Marques that he was going to put him at safety early in spring. He said, I just surprised him one day right before practice. And then he responded really well to that. That he went back there, he made some mistakes, but he just played his butt off, played really fast. And he said that the thing that jumps out to you is whether he knows exactly what he's doing at safety or not, because he spent most of last year playing corner. He plays fast, and he gets to the football quickly.
Yeah, and I think your characterization of him as an ascending player, it's pretty clear because they had him up here today.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And they just don't bring anybody up here. So, yeah, I would say Marques Buford is a guy to look at as a potential starting safety.
Yeah, and then so last thing, number 4 today, Chris Kolarevic is playing nickel, another guy who sort of shifted positions, even if it's a subtle one, from playing inside linebacker. He said he's playing all nickel this spring. He's competing for the starting job at that group with guys like Isaac Gifford, Javen Wright. And it was interesting. It's like, might sound obvious, but he was asked sort of what the biggest adjustment is. And he said, well, last year I wasn't asked to play a lot of man-to-man coverage against number 2 in the slot. Wow. So he's going out there now and being asked to play to man up against Omar Manning or Trey Palmer or, other guys. And he said that's something he knew after the season ended that this was a move that he was likely to make. And so he spent the winter working a lot with Thomas Fidone, was one guy he mentioned, and working a lot on his coverage movements and coverage techniques in preparation for trying to win this job.
Well, it's a pretty big body out there covering receivers. So I imagine that's a challenging adjustment.
Challenging adjustments for us all. We're off and running Nebraska spring ball. Week 2 for Sipple and Parker. Thanks for watching.